Hello, fellow patriots. Welcome to our 9th Never McCain briefing. Today, we are going to address good leadership versus bad leadership. That is to say, the Donald Trump style of leadership versus the John McCain style. As an introduction to good leadership, I would like to relate a story my dad told me about his experience during the final hours of World War I. Dad was a corporal in Company H of the 28th Division of the Pennsylvania National Guard. They wore the Keystone patch, signifying that Pennsylvania was the keystone state of the original 13 colonies. Pennsylvania was in the center of the colonies, and her boundaries touched 5 other states, which tied them together much as a keystone would hold the center of an archway together. The generals had announced that the war was going to end at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month. Both the Allied and German soldiers knew when the war was going to end. Nevertheless, the Allied commanders directed that the fighting was to continue until the final second and had ordered a massive attack along the front to commence at 9 a.m. My father's company had orders to attack a German-held village at 9 a.m. They had fixed bayonets and said farewell to their buddies as they prepared to go over the top. But at 5 minutes to 9, an order came down that the 28th Division would hold fast. And they held fast while fighting around them continued until 1100 hours when shooting stopped and the war ended. Dad said he never learned why the 28th Division did not attack, but he sure was glad that someone higher up made a good decision. I discovered the truth in a history book long after my father passed away. It turned out that the general in command of the 28th Division had received the order to attack and communicated the order to the division. But then his subordinate staff officers lobbied him to rescind the order because so many of his troops would be killed needlessly in the last hours of the war. The general listened to his subordinates and rescinded the order. The Allied forces suffered over 6,000 troops killed needlessly in those last few hours because of an arrogantly poor leadership. But no soldiers from the 28th Division were killed in the last ground assault. Many times since I became a precinct committeeman, I have been reminded of this story because of the horrendous leadership I have witnessed coming from the hierarchy of the Republican Party led by John McCain. Over and over again, I have seen promises made by McCain and then arrogantly broken once we have elected him to office. McCain had promised to build a fence and secure the border repeatedly, but he has done neither. And he has let our citizens be killed by the thousands as a consequence. We have begged and lobbied him for nearly 2 decades, but to no avail. We gave the rhinos control of the House and Senate, which they said they needed to stop Obamacare and reduce spending. They ignored our pleas. It got so bad that we censored John McCain repeatedly for his failure to abide by his oath of office, the Republican platform, and the Constitution. Not only did he ignore us, but he directed his operatives to remove the precinct committeemen who opposed his unconstitutional legislation. He has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in this effort, and now he attacks Donald Trump. By this action, he is urging everyone to vote for his buddy Hillary. His minions always tell us we must unify, but only after they have attacked conservatives in the primary. For those who felt that they must still vote for McCain to assure a unified Republican Party, does not his ultimate betrayal of Trump by McCain destroy that belief? If you watch the way McCain operatives attacked J.D. Hayward or Dr. Kelly Ward, and you saw O'Keefe's undercover videos of the Democrats using Alinsky anarchist tactics to destroy an opponent, it doesn't take a Sherlock Holmes to connect the dots. Watch again the Never McCain number 4 video to see McCain's voting record. This is what he has done with your vote that put him in office. Watch again Never McCain videos 2 and 3 if you still think he is pro-life. He voted to confirm far-left judicial activist judges Sotomayor and Kagan to the Supreme Court. We do not believe McCain would risk putting a conservative on the court who would reject his treasured but blatantly unconstitutional campaign finance reform legislation. The poor leadership of McCain and his betrayals must be expunged from the Republican Party if it is to survive. The only way to do that now is to vote for Kirkpatrick to save the Republican Party from any more of McCain's treachery. Not voting or voting for a write-in will not defeat McCain. If you had voted for McCain the last time, he loses 2 votes this time if you vote for Kirkpatrick. Your vote would add 1 to her total and take 1 away from McCain's total. It has just been announced that the NRA has refused to endorse McCain. More about this in our Never McCain briefing number 10. In closing, you are well aware of McCain's betrayal of Trump. You should also be aware of McCain's betrayals to the Republican Party by his legislation to close the gun shows, his repeated attempts to grant amnesty to millions of illegal invaders and migrants from terrorist countries, his Campaign Finance Reform Act, which took away your freedom of speech during campaigns, and the absence of any meaningful conservative legislation during his 35 years in Congress. In the future, when a topic of McCain comes up, we would say first, the great betrayer, John McCain. That is what we would recommend. That is the most fitting title to him, for him. Vote Kirkpatrick to rid us of McCain. Until our next Never McCain briefing, God bless you and the United States. Pray for a just election in our November 8th election. Bye now. Thank you for listening.